Welcome to Fun with Annuities with your host, me, Stan the Annuity Man, America's annuity agent. Can annuities be fun? Can contractual guarantees be fun? Absolutely they can. Find out the brutal facts about annuities with no sales pitches or high-pressure nonsense. Just the brutal and factual annuity truth, which is all you need to hear. Let's have some fun with annuities, and let's have that fun start right now. Welcome to Fun with Annuities, the number one annuity podcast on the planet. I'm your host, Stan the Annuity Man, America's annuity agent, licensed in all 50 states. And I want to welcome everyone that's watching this on the Fun with Annuities YouTube channel and also listening to this on all major podcast platforms. And where Fun with Annuities, our slogan here is living the reality, not the dream. And once again, we have a superstar guest, his second appearance on Fun with Annuities, because the first one, everyone's like, bring the annuity mechanic back, bring the annuity mechanic back. Who's the annuity mechanic, if you want to ask that? His name is John Lenz, and the only way that I can describe John appropriately, I was thinking about this, is if there was such a thing as an annuity room, let's just say the room was called the annuity room, and John walked into it, regardless of who is in that room, he's the smartest person in the room, period. So I'm really glad that he joined us on this podcast, because both of us have actually lost friends recently to COVID. We're both kind of in this really kind of funk. But I told him, I said, let's soldier through this, just because people need to know the truth about annuities. People need to know about what's going on. So with that being said, and that really weird intro, John Lenz, welcome back to Fun with Annuities.
Hey, thanks, Dan. Yeah, if I walk into a room and start talking about annuities, I've learned how I can drink alone in the corner. There's so much fun and so boring, but I appreciate the kind words and glad to be back.
Absolutely. So what you're telling the young people out there, if there are young people out there, consider yourself young, and you're single, don't bring up annuities if you're trying to pick somebody up. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I've never had a pickup line work with annuities.
That's fantastic. Let's jump right in. The state of Washington. Now, you're in the beautiful city of Portland, Oregon.
I am looking out my back window at downtown.
It is beautiful. But the state of Washington and the politicians there, and they're so smart, John. We all know that. Explain what's going on in Washington and the long-term care rules, because my phone is blowing up.
Yeah, well, mine too. And it's just been the craziest couple of months in my 41 years in this business. So the state of Washington votes blue, and their legislature, I think in a well-intended move, created a payroll tax, which was charged against W-2 wages, so self-employed people were not involved. Federal employees were exempt. And so it's a 0.58% payroll tax to fund a long-term care benefit for Washington residents. So if you work in the state of Washington, you're subject to this payroll tax. So 0.58% would mean $580 per $100,000 of W-2 income. So it's not a huge tax, but Washington state residents are used to having no income tax. We've got a sales tax and property tax and vehicle registration tax, and it's not like there's no taxes up here in Washington where I personally live, even though I'm working in Portland across the river.
It's like Florida. Florida has no state tax, but guess what? They get their share.
Yeah, we have an estate tax. Anyway, bottom line was the legislature passed this act. And the benefit was $100 per day to a maximum of $36,500 for long-term care expenses that can be at home or in a facility. I think the last time we talked a little bit about Medicaid, and Medicaid pays the majority of long-term care and home health care expenses. Not Medicare, but Medicaid. And the only reason Medicaid pays it is because you've run out of money yourself. So the state of Washington, first state in the country, designed this piece of legislation. Governor signed it, and everybody's going to have a payroll tax pretty quick, unless you have your own long-term care policy in place by November 1st.
And that's where the weirdness starts.
Well, it's certainly part of the weirdness, yeah.
Because they haven't, correct me if I'm wrong, but they haven't been very specific on what that means. So does that mean traditional long-term care is a health insurance product? Does that mean confinement care riders attached to a life insurance product like an income rider with an indexed annuity? What does that mean for the consumer?
Yeah, it means both of those things. So the state of Washington, RCW 48 something said, this is what a long-term care policy does, provides benefits for people who need it, and they define it. But what they, in the legislation, they did not say how much you needed. So they didn't say you had to have a policy the same size as the Washington benefit or more, even though some law firms have opined that that's what they would recommend. That's what I personally recommend and what I personally did for myself being a Washington resident. I purchased a long-term care policy, and I purchased the latter of the type you just described.
Mm-hmm.
I purchased a life insurance policy with a long-term care rider, which means if I die and don't need long-term care, my family gets a death benefit. If I need long-term care, I can take that death benefit and parcel it out as I need it over a 4-year period. So the policy is worth much more than the Washington plan. And then it has the added benefit. It's I can get all my money back someday if I want it. So it was sort of a no-brainer for me to do that. And when Washington announced this, and as the day started getting closer that everyone had to have this policy in place by November 1st, word got out, and insurance agents and financial advisors started telling their clients about it. And literally hundreds and hundreds of thousands of people decided they wanted long-term care insurance. I said, I think hell has just frozen over. I've had so many people calling me up saying, I want to buy life insurance. I'm like, are you kidding me? People never call me up and say, I want to buy life insurance or want to buy an annuity with long-term care features or long-term care insurance.
I'm assuming that there's a lot of shenanigans from a sales standpoint going on. And appropriateness and suitability is what scares me a little bit, because some of the calls I'm getting from the state of Washington are from 30-years and 22-year-olds and people like that.
We have an 18-year-old.
Right.
And of course, if you think about it, if this tax stays in place, the 18-year-old is going to be paying it longer than the 30-year-old or the 40 or the 60-year-old. So there is certainly somebody that understands the way money works and mechanics of life insurance, long-term care, and taxes ought to be talking to people about this, because if you have a relatively, an average income, your tax is going to be less than $500 a year. And to buy a long-term care insurance policy that would provide a solution is going to cost more than that. But where the craziness came up was the insurance industry got so many applications, they couldn't process them. We had one company that came out and said, we have more business in the last 3 days from the state of Washington than we received in the past 3 months from all states, including Washington. And it just ground the company to a halt. They literally couldn't process. There's a company that has 13,000 applications that have been submitted in a month, and probably about 10% of them have a policy number. It's just never going to get issued by the end of the period. So there's now an initiative petition to postpone this, but the legislature's out. They aren't coming back until after January 1st. This law is going to go into effect, and there's going to be a payroll tax unless you get an exemption, which kind of leads us to a point. One of the few, there was a dozen companies providing these solutions, long-term care, life with long-term care, and they just one at a time dropped out of the business. I mean, right now, if you're an insurance agent selling long-term care insurance in the state of Washington, and that's how you make your living, you're basically out of business. All the major carriers just stopped doing it, even the big mutual companies like Northwestern Mutual.
This falls under the category of political writing a check with your mouth that your rear end can't cash. Unbelievable crap show.
The subset is unintended consequences. No one knew that this many people would want to exempt themselves. I think the legislation or the legislators thought that Washington citizens would love having this long-term care insurance policy. and everybody wants to opt out. That's been my experience. So can an annuity work in this situation? And the answer is yes. So there's one carrier that we're working with, that highly rated company, that you can basically establish your own reserve. So instead of paying a tax every year, you can write a $35,000 check to the insurance company, create a long-term care annuity, which means if you need long-term care insurance, they'll pay you not only your $35,000 back, but either 2 or 3 times that amount in long-term care benefits, depending on your health. And that'll exempt you from the tax under the current law. So we're still seeing solutions for that.
I apologize if people are hearing some form of an echo. You know, this is technology, John, and we're doing the best we can, even with our screaming internet. So I'm hearing just a little bit. If you're hearing that, we apologized. I'm in Florida. John's in Portland, Oregon, and we're digging into this. This is an interesting moment in time, and maybe a glimpse into the future if other states follow suit and do something similar to what Washington, the politicians there, didn't really think it through too much. And whoever consulted, they didn't hire you to consult, because you would have said, it ain't going to happen. I mean, the dam's going to break on the policies, and they don't administratively have the people in place to process that many. If they would have come to you early, what would you have told them other than they're crazy?
Oh, I don't know. They wouldn't have come to me, and there was.
They should have. You're the annuity architect, John.
But I honestly, I don't think anybody guessed just how many people would find this tax so objectionable, and how many people would want to opt out by buying insurance that actually costs more than the tax. But there's a lot of high earners in the state of Washington. Big companies like Amazon and Microsoft and many, many others have got large employee populations in Washington that make good income, and they don't want to pay this tax. So anyway, that's it's been a crazy, crazy time here, and there still are a few solutions. Unfortunately, there is an underwriting process on this, and if it's not done, within the next couple of weeks, then this probably is not going to work, because the policies are just not going to get approved by November 1st, and that's the deadline.
There's a very good friend of mine, and his name is Jack Lindenberg. He's arguably one of the top long-term care experts in the country, and he's been on the podcast, and he called me the other day. He said he's not even dealing with Washington people anymore, just because during this time period, just because he can't get them done in time.
Right.
And that's coming from a person that specializes in long-term care, and his background is he's a lawyer as well, but he only does long-term care. And for him to say that is unbelievable, and it tells me how much of a nightmare it truly is at this point in time. So interesting. And what John was talking about was asset-based long-term care solutions, and what that means in English to people from the South, where I'm from, is that you don't lose your money. One of the biggest misconceptions about long-term care is that you give them the money, you give them the money, give them the money, and then if you die, money goes poof. That is traditional long-term care, but that represents such a tiny, tiny fraction of what's being sold out there right now, and not many carriers even do that. Most of the long-term care solutions are asset-based, meaning that somebody in your family is going to get the money, whatever's left over of what you initially put in, even though you're transferring the risk to the carrier for long-term care. Did I put that succinctly, John?
Yeah, you did. We call it live, die, quit, which is one of the 3 options everybody has, right? If you live and need long-term care services, your policy is going to pay a benefit. If you die without needing long-term care services, lucky you, then your family will get a death benefit. And if you say someday, I quit and don't want to do this, then you're going to get your money back, or some percentage of it, or some multiple of it, depending on the type of policy you bought. But yeah, it's a very popular idea, and there's still a couple of those solutions left in Washington as well. But the minimum premiums are around $50,000 up front. That may sound like a ridiculous solution to a 0.58% tax, but it's not. I'll give you a reason why. In my case, I live in Washington. I'm not a real high earner, but I don't want to pay this tax either. So I took $60,000, moved it into one of these long-term care life insurance chassis plans. And if I die, my wife will get the death benefit. If I need long-term care, it'll be paid for. And if I quit, I will get my money back. Now, what's the cost of that? Well, that money was in cash in a money market account earning 0.3%.
Right.
0.3% of $60,000 is $180 a year in lost earnings. That makes sense. So we have quite a few people who are applying for that and basically creating their own reserve. So you can do that with a life insurance chassis or an annuity, probably through, the 25th, 26th, 27th of September.
John, the other thing I wanted to mention, just when you said live, die, and quit, obviously me and you are multi-talented, and we could, me on guitar and you singing, we could actually come out with an album called Live, Die, Quit. And I think it would go, it could be phenomenal. So, hey, let's move on. I mean, obviously my mind always goes to music because I have that in the background, and there's some, I love the music, but Live, Die, and Quit could be a great album.
I want to be the drummer. That's all I can do.
You got it. You got the drum. You could be called Sticks Lenz, which would be perfect. Hey, let's move on to like the current. I'm always asking you these questions because you have your ear to the ground on annuity industry stuff. Current struggles are obviously interest rates. Any other current struggles that the consumer needs to be aware of when it comes to annuities and life insurance that the carriers are having right now, other than hiring?
Hiring is really an issue.
It is.
I'll tell you, one of the big companies that has just received a huge amount of these applications went out to the market and tried to hire 4 new case managers that could review these applications and get them in front of an underwriter. Mm-hmm. They interviewed 4 people and made 4 offers for come to work on Monday for the training. One person showed up and that guy quit in 3 days. There's just people just don't want to work right now. It's the craziest thing I've ever seen.
They can make more money sitting at home. Obviously they're not thinking long term from a career standpoint, but the government has painted themselves into this corner, and the Washington state rule is another version of cradle to grave coverage that they're trying to do. Good intentions. The progressive side of all of us says, and yes, everyone has a heart, all you conservatives out there, that we do want to take care of people that do need to be taken care of. Yeah. But once you do cradle to grave for everyone, it's going to get, things aren't going to work the way that they predicted. So in addition to the interest rates, is it just interest rates and hiring? Is those the 2 main things for carriers right now? Yeah,
interest rates are just so far below what insurance companies predicted, and they have sold life insurance policies for 100 years and annuities or more. Now, obviously something you sold 100 years ago is probably not in force today, but when interest rates were higher, and they've almost always been higher, insurance companies thought they were going to get X on their portfolio, say 5, 6, 7%.
Right.
And today they're investing new money, between 2 and 3%, because they've got to invest their money in safe debt instruments that they can
by law
redeem when they need to, right?
Yeah.
So they're having a difficult time making money. Now, I'm sure your heart bleeds like mine does. Those 4 big insurance companies need to make money. But at the end of the day, you do want your insurance company to be profitable and be around when you need to get paid and have your claim. So yeah, I'd say those are the 2 biggest challenges. There's new regulatory challenges coming on in the insurance industry, which, again, I do welcome that. I think our business, every business has got bad actors. Yeah, I knew you would. There's this new regulation called best interest standards, where more disclosure from insurance agents that are selling annuities and life insurance, but annuities in particular, where you're dealing with compensation disclosure, absolutely making sure that any recommendation is in the best interest of the client, especially if you're doing an annuity switch from one company to another, which is something we talked about. Was why do annuities, they get in and you buy an annuity for 5 or 10 years, and then all of a sudden your agent's telling you should transfer that annuity to another company 5 or 10 years later.
Right.
And so you want to spend a minute on that?
Absolutely. And for the viewers, John is doing, he's not a member of the group Devo, and he's not doing the robot. He's just we're seeing him do a little choppiness on the video. For you guys listening on the podcast, everything's cool. So it's the magic of internet. So let's dig into that, John.
So one of your clients calls you and says, Stan, I'm getting 0.1% in my CD at the bank, and I heard you're the man about town and can get me the best interest rate on the annuity, and you find a quality company that has, let's say, a 2.5% 5-year guaranteed rate. That's available today. Well, 5 years later, your client purchases the annuity. They get a guaranteed 2.5% interest rate for 5 years. And then the company comes back and says, we want to renew you at 1%. And regardless of where interest rates are. And what happens is, in today's world, that's what's happening now. The insurance companies, defense interest rates are really low. And they're required to keep that money in a position where if the customer asks for all of it back right now, they could give it all back. So they also have to invest the money in the short-term instrument that has a low interest rate. But even historically, companies at renewal time have often renewed the interest rate below market rates. And so an insurance agent and their client want to get the most they can get on their money. And so they're constantly, after 5 or 7 or 10 years, there's an opportunity to get a better interest rate somewhere else. And that same thing can be said for indexed annuities that have caps on participation rates. At the end of that surrender charge period, where the money no longer has got some hooks at the insurance company and it can leave, insurance companies tend to reduce the renewal rate to the customer. And so money moves from company A to company B, and sometimes back the other direction 5 years later.
Well, and renewal rates can also apply to indexed annuities. The 1-year option or the 2-year option or the 3-year option expires, and then you have the renewal rate of the cap spreads and participation rates. We see a lot of shenanigans going on with that. How does the consumer, other than dealing with me, John, or you, how do they combat that renewal rate, bait and switch type stuff that might be out there in the indexed annuity space?
Well, I'm a fan of a shorter surrender charge period. I like 5-year products personally over 10-year products, even though the industry, there's the vast majority of policies are sold with a 7 and 10-year surrender charge schedule. And sometimes those products have better interest rates, better caps, better participation rates. There's a reason to do that. But if an insurance company has your money for 10 years and they lower your renewal rate during that period of time and you can't leave, then that can create some anxiety. So one thing someone can do is go to a little bit of a shorter surrender charge schedule, a 5-year, 7-year, over a 10 or longer. Most of the annuities that are sold in the broker-dealer environment can't go longer than 10 years, but I've seen surrender charge periods as long as 15 years.
Right.
You can also go with a company that has a promise to renew the interest rate at the initial rate or at a rate, slightly below, called a bailout rate. So there's ways to protect yourself against an insurance company that wants to renew you at a lower rate than you anticipated.
Question just hit me. We get a lot of calls, and we're not going to name the carrier because it changes year to year, but a lot of times you see companies that issued an annuity with an income rider, which is a attached benefit for lifetime income, a living benefit.
Yeah.
And they're trying to buy that back for a premium, John. So people are always calling in and saying, hey, Stan, the Annuity Man, America's Annuity Agent, what should I do? Which is the best way to do this? Should I take the buyout, or is the benefit so good and rich? Should I stay there and keep the benefit? I know there's no good answers in life, John, just bad sales pitches, but give me the annuity architect's version of this.
Well, I'd say for sure that every case is a little different. Now, I'll give you a real easy to understand example right out of the gate is that if I have an annuity that has an income rider on it and the company is trying to buy it back, it means that they mispriced it. It means it's too beneficial for me. So immediately my little radar goes right up.
You, the consumer. You're speaking as the consumer.
As a consumer. I've got something the insurance company wants to buy back at a premium that I'd get the benefit of.
Right.
This must be good. So I'd evaluate it. And most of the things they want to buy back are living benefit riders that promise to pay a certain percentage of the annuity value for the lifetime of the annuity owner or the annuitant.
Mm-hmm.
And so I might make a decision that would be different than yours. If I've got heart disease and I think I'm only going to live 10 more years, then having an income rider that goes to age 100 is a really little benefit to me. So I might take the insurance company up on that offer. You may live a very long time and super healthy, and so that same rider might be beneficial for you to keep. So if somebody who's watching this gets a letter from one of the half a dozen insurance companies that are buying these riders back, you should reach out to Stan, evaluate it.
Exactly.
I work for Stan. I'm in the background doing the math on stuff like that. But yeah, if an insurance company wants it back, there's a reason.
And they're paying a premium.
Yes, they are. I've seen as much as 15% account value increases if you will just leave.
Well, and here's what you don't do in 99% of the cases. This is called agent blood in the water shark chum. And you'll see agents just almost do a Pavlov's dog saliva test when they hear this, because they can transfer. We can transfer. We can make another commission. No. It has to be in your favor to transfer it to another annuity. And when I say that, and John's nodding his head, for all you listeners on the podcast, it has to mathematically be in your favor. The benefit from where you're coming from to where you're going to, the going to has to be better mathematically. And in the majority of these cases, there's no way to do that, because income rider benefits and that monopoly money does not transfer.
Yep. Yeah, exactly right. And part of this new suitability regulation is that if you do indeed get one of those letters and want to transfer it to another company, the form from the other company is going to say, what benefits are you leaving behind? Mm-hmm. So there's a process that's sort of baked into this to help make sure that everything's in the customer's best interest.
The only way, and unfortunately I've seen this 3 or 4 times recently because people send me their stuff, I've seen agents not fill out the application properly, because if they do, there's no way for that thing to transfer in most cases. So just be very careful out there. Ask for a copy of the application always. Typically it's included, but always review that to see if it's accurate when it's being filled out. And listen, there's bad actors in every industry. Annuity industry is no different, but the majority of people out there are doing it the right way. Just be careful. Never ever transfer for an upfront bonus. It's bigger than that, and there's no philanthropist at annuity companies. John, I call upfront bonuses candy for the stupid. They do work in some cases, but people that nudge themselves at the bad steak dinner or the good steak dinner seminar and say, "Well, Marge, they're giving us 25% upfront bonus." That's not where you make the decision. That's like going to the car dealership, John, and buying the car for the stereo system. Makes absolutely no sense.
I think the banks and savings and loans started that when you used to get a free toaster with deposit, right?
Exactly. Insurance companies just ramped it up. Let's just give them monopoly money instead.
Yeah, there's generally, if an insurance company gives you something up front, they figure out how to amortize that and take it away in arrears. But like you said, there are times where bonuses can make sense, depending on if that's payable at death, then you're not healthy. There's a way. Sure, or if you want to start income right away instead of defer it. So yeah, there's some times.
Yeah, there's always that asterisk moment. It's just that it isn't free money. I know people walk into your office. They don't walk into mine because they have to call. But they always ask this question: can we retire yet? Stan the annuity man, John Lenz, annuity architect. Can we retire yet? When people ask that open-ended question, John, other than taking a sip from your Perrier, what do you say?
Yeah, that's just the opening salvo for a lot of questions from me.
Sure.
I think most people want to retire someday, right? You and I've talked about that.
Sure.
And I worked 41 years, and every time I hear somebody, so-and-so is retiring from the police force after 30 years, I'm like, hey, man, that guy's just getting started. But, I love what I do. And unlike being a police officer in Portland's, not the hottest job on the planet right now. But people come in, they've usually got some account statements. They've got maybe an opportunity at work. to leave early, and can they? So that's where I love using annuities to generate base level income, and then figure out how they'll invest other assets for growth and keeping up with inflation, and ask the questions about what are your expenses going to look like in retirement.
It's the income floor, John. That's what we
exactly.
call it.
So annuities play a big role in that. Usually insurance companies don't want to see any more than 50% of a person's assets in an annuity. They know that money needs to be in growth and liquid assets as well. So it's a very fun process, and that we develop an income plan for people that looks at their Social Security, any pension income they have. I'm working on a case right now where a woman has a rental. And the question about a rental, you're 66 years old and you want to manage a piece of rental property that's out of state. So we're looking. Anyway, a lot of questions, but annuities play a big role in that. I mean, really, at the end of the day, there's a lot of similarities between an annuity and Social Security.
Absolutely. I always tell people that's the best
pay you forever.
annuity on the planet. And what there's a lot of bad information on annuities. The annuity industry has earned its bad reputation in a lot of cases, but it's still the only product that can provide a lifetime income stream. As I say, there's no ROI until you die with a lifetime income stream. You're just transferring the risk. Here's a dumb question of the day, John, coming from Stan, the annuity man. Does tax deferral over time make sense?
Yeah, that's a really good question. It's a math question. And the math.
And annuities are math, right, John?
Well, annuities you put them on a chart and they have numbers next to them, and you do the math, and the math is the eighth wonder of the world, compound interest.
Yeah.
And so I can prove mathematically that deferring your taxes and earning interest on the money you would have otherwise paid in tax until a later date makes sense.
You mean like your IRA, John?
Like your IRA, absolutely.
There you go, man.
If you're not paying taxes each year on the interest you earn, let's use a simple example. If you're in an indexed annuity and you hope you're earning a 4% average return, if you don't pay any tax on that, you have a $100,000 account, and the first year you earn $4,000. If you put that $4,000 on your tax return, then you're going to pay, pick a number, 25% of it in tax. So you're left with,
because it's in an annuity.
Correct. So instead of having $3,000 in your account, you now have $4,000, you got an extra $1,000 earning interest. So over a period of 10, 15, 20 years, that number absolutely creates value, thousands and tens of thousands of dollars, with the caveat that is, will you be in a higher tax bracket in some future date? Most retirees are not. Most retirees don't earn more in retirement than they did during their working years. And well, who knows where tax rates are going to go? We've been thinking income tax rates are going to go up forever, and maybe they will. But under the current administration, allegedly, only if you're making more than $400,000.
Allegedly. There's a lot of as you know, John, I have a large other YouTube channel called the Annuity Man YouTube channel, and there's 400 videos, and we're adding 20 a month. And one of our most watched videos, I think it's had 50 or 60,000 views or some enormous amount for me, is about inheriting annuities and what your choices are when you inherit annuities. And obviously, there's a bunch of baby boomers that are getting older, and people are passing away, and they're leaving these annuities. So just a basic question, not to get into the total weeds of it, but does it make sense for the spouse to take the death benefit lump sum or to take over the policy, or is it customized to each specific person?
Absolutely customized. Yeah. Federal law allows a spouse to become the owner of the deceased spouse IRA annuity or non-qualified, non-IRA annuity. What the question is that you raise is, if there's a death benefit feature on that annuity, does it make more sense to collect the death benefit and deal with the tax angles or not? Mm-hmm. And that's annuities there's so many different flavors and types and writers that every one of those has got to be looked at. But in general, what I found is, since most annuities don't have an expanded death benefit, that spouses are well served to take over the contract when they can, especially if it's something they bought 10, 15, 20 years ago that might have a very high minimum interest rate guarantee. Well, we still have hundreds of millions of dollars of annuities on the books that are earning 3, 4, 5, and even higher for the rest of the owner's lifetime. Now you can't, I know this is that good stuff. You can't do that to a non-spouse. So if I'm single and I've got an annuity earning 5%, when I die, my kids can't become the new owner and have eternal tax deferral, right? They've got to take it out over their life expectancy.
Right. And so it's just spouses. And just to kind of clarify on that point, the reason that you have these policies that are being inherited by the spouse that have these high interest rates is when the annuity companies issued them back in the day, they put a 3% or 4% or 5% number that was so low back then that they thought that that's a joke. That's not going to be worth and have any value in the future. And lo and behold, here we are, where if you have a 3% or 4% or 5%, I get this call all the time, and I'm like, it's guaranteed 3% or 4% or 5%. They say, yep. I'm like, well, then you're staying there.
Yeah, exactly.
Enjoy the money market account that you have because it's beautiful. So, and I know that there's just so much, there's a lot of annuities being inherited. Once again, this is Agent Shark chum in the water. Doesn't mean you always transfer it. Doesn't mean you always take the lump sum. Just be very careful out there, especially for the spouses that might have stumbled across this podcast and have not been involved in the money management up until their spouse's death, and now they're trying to figure out what to do. Just be very careful out there, because staying the course in a lot of cases that John and I found is the best course. That doesn't pay the agent, but who cares, right, John?
Yeah, I'd say you're right. There's a lot of annuities that were issued many, many years ago that is definitely in your interest to hold on to. I mean, there are insurance companies now that are exercising maturity clauses in their contract and asking people to leave when they hit that maturity date rather than just automatically renew it, because the interest rate, if a company's paying you 4% on a fully liquid annuity, they cannot go out and buy an asset with that money and make a profit. I mean, they're literally losing money on that business. And so companies have programs asking people to take a payment stream or transfer their money to a different annuity, even within the company or another company.
I think the correlation there, I'm going back to my Morgan Stanley days. It's like getting your bond called. That's the version of the annuity company calling in the annuity. So yeah, and by the way, at the time of this taping, we're right before the 9/11. I know that we release these later, but at the time John and I are on this podcast, 9/11 is a couple days away, and it's a tough time for all of us. I don't know if you know this, John, but I worked in World Trade II, the South Tower, for a little bit with Dean Witter, which then became Morgan Stanley, and was actually supposed to be in the tower that day, and was not, for a myriad of reasons. But every time I see that, it just, it makes you reflect. And I hope that the 9/11 makes us reflect patriotically and as a country, and let's all come together. But also too, in combination with COVID, and that's affected John and I as well, with friends who's recently passed away, to plan a little bit more and a little bit more proactively. And annuities, and this isn't some sales pitch, this is just reality. Annuities and life insurance can help you plan for your eventual demise and taking care of your families and taking care of you as a lifetime benefit now, but also setting things up in the future. Are you seeing trends with the COVID monster that keeps rearing its ugly head? Have you seen more and more people kind of getting, as they say in the South, a bee in their bonnet to get some things done?
Yeah, absolutely. It's one of the few silver linings of COVID. I mean, for me, COVID I learned that you're supposed to sing happy birthday twice when you wash your hands with hot soapy water. I mean, think about how many people do you know that had a cold last year or the flu? I mean, we just didn't get sick last year because we stayed apart from each other.
We
Masks
wore
are a whole
masks on
other
planes.
discussion.
I
And
look back on, John, every time I got the flu in the past,
yeah,
it came from a plane flight.
right. The aluminum death tube full of germs is true. Even though, I mean, I know, sorry, Delta Airlines and American, I know you're filtering your air through HEPA filters and it's cleaner than it is in my office.
Sure, whatever.
I buy that. But there's a lot of strangers walking around that we haven't come in contact with.
Yeah.
But Google AdWords saw a sharp increase in life insurance inquiries during the COVID. And so it was a positive on that side.
Yeah.
On the negative side, you had insurance companies not issue insurance policies to people over 60 that had comorbid conditions, because that's the people who are dying primarily.
Yeah, it seems that way. Yeah.
So if you need evidence that this is not a complete conspiracy, look at the insurance industry that is not issuing insurance on people of the age that are dying from the symptoms of
there's no politics when it comes to an underwriter. Okay.
Understood.
There's just none. They're looking at facts and real life situations. A lot of the stuff that we do and that you advise on and help us through as well is what I call income later. And income later is when someone says, you know what, I don't need the income now, but I need it to start 3 years from now or 5 years from now or 7 years from now.
Yeah.
And we call that income later. And typically when they ask that, and then, obviously we go through the whole questions with them and all that stuff, but it comes down to two types of annuities: deferred income annuities and income riders. And deferred income annuities is what's called annuitization. Yeah. And that's in the South. Just think of the water faucet at the back of the house. And if you rip the knob off, water's flowing. Annuitization visually is the income flowing period. So my question to you, John Lenz, the annuity architect, which, by the way, I've coined that phrase for you, and I'm going to trademark it for you because it'll be worth a lot. In fact, we already are for you, John, the annuity architect. Which one's better, annuitization or income riders, which in essence is drawdown, and in the South that means subtraction?
I'm a fan of flexibility. I remember early on.
About personally or with annuities? Like, are you stretching daily? What are you trying to say to me, John?
Yeah, financial flexibility.
Financial so you can't put the right leg over the head, is what you're telling me.
No, I don't sit cross-legged like this, because then I can't go back up. But I do like financial flexibility.
Got it.
And so if your plan's not set, like I'm 63, my plan's not set. And if I want to use an annuity to fund part of my retirement, what I want is something flexible that if something in my life changes, all of a sudden I've got angina and my doctor says, hey, John, you got heart disease. There's not much we can do and you're going to live 10 years. I'm not interested in an annuity that goes to 100, right? I'm going to accelerate my payments and enjoy my life while I'm here. Or if I'm like, I love my job. I want to keep doing this. And so I want to turn my income on maybe when I'm 66 and a half, when Social Security starts. Or no, I have health in my family. I want to wait to turn my income on until I'm 70 because I can get those 8% increases for 3 years on my Social Security benefit. Or you get to 70 and you still just love what you're doing, and so you want to push your income out even further. So yeah, I like flexibility. And so an annuity with an income rider that increases in its payout every year for 10 years or longer without a required starting date, it would be my preference over what you said earlier, that DIA, where you say, I want my income and I'm 66, and then you've only got a 5-year range to massage that.
Yeah, and the DIAs can be set up to where you can change the start date one time, depending on the structure, and you can change the income rider start date as well. But what we do is, we're quoting for the highest contractual guarantee. Currently, at the time of this taping, look at the date, please. When we do a comparison income rider DIA quote, apples to apples, the income rider quotes are winning contractually, highest guaranteed number. And I always tell people, deferred income annuities and income riders are both lifetime income guarantees. They just take two different contractual paths to get to that contractual guarantee. They're just structured differently, but at the end of the day, it's still a transfer of risk that you're transferring to the annuity company to pay you for as long as you're breathing. And the primary pricing mechanism is life expectancy, i.e. mortality credits a lot of people think interest rates drive the train. John, let's talk about that. When people say to you, hey, John Lenz, America's Annuity Architect, I heard you on the thing with America's Annuity Agent, the podcast. I lost my train of thought. That was such a good thing. No, and they talk about income riders and increases and things like that. How do you explain some of these annuities that increase with the index without, it sounds too good to be true. I always say that they significantly lower the payment when you want to put a COLA or cost of living adjustment rider. How do you explain that to people and the value?
Again, I am a math nerd. I love spreadsheets. And so for me,
okay.
And I know that math doesn't generally help people make decisions. Retirement decisions are often emotional, but you need an underlying basis to make, in my world, an underwriting math decision. So I'll take $100,000 and put it on a spreadsheet and say, if you take this money now, you're going to get $500 a month. If you wait 1 year, you're going to get $540 a month, and you wait 2 years, then it's $600, and then it's $650 and $700. So people ask, why wouldn't you just keep waiting? Well, the obvious answer is, if you don't take it now, you don't get those payments. So the math says, what have I given up versus what do I get if I wait? And that's a very interesting discussion with people. And then since you're only dealing with, a certain part of a person's assets, then you've got to ask yourself, how will I invest those other assets? And what if they go up faster than anticipated? Or what if there's a market correction and those assets go down? That's where you want your flexibility in your annuity, because the last thing you want to do is take money out of a falling market. You want to take that money out of your annuity, not out of the stock market account.
And I always tell people this when they say, well, where should I take the money from lifetime income? They'll show me their assets and they'll have one or two annuities. And I'll say, the annuity, you have to go there first. That's the transfer of risk that needs to be, in place with all of this. What's the outlook, in your opinion, for annuity consumers going forward in the next couple of years? Because obviously, I personally don't think interest rates are going to rise, and if they do, they're not going to rise a lot. And I hope I'm wrong. But let's just say I'm right. What's the outlook for annuity consumers?
I'd say if annuities don't move one direction or the other very much, then you're going to see the 5 to 7 year fixed market for annuities in that 2 to high 2s range. And some companies are less than that, but the competitive carriers are able to say, we'll give you a 2, 2.5, 2.7, 5 year, 7 year rate. But the industry is trying to innovate. And the innovations right now are in the index annuity space, where investment banks and insurance companies are creating their own. It's a weird proprietary index.
Starting to hurt already, John. I mean,
yeah, they are complicated and hard for everybody to understand. That's what the consumer can expect. I'm not saying that's necessarily what they'll buy. But most of the policies are sold, I think, are based on the Standard & Poor's 500 index, easy to understand. If the index goes up, you make 5%. If it goes down, you make 0 or 1.
Right.
I like that proposition. And I think we'll continue to see that.
And that's good. I just hope that the sales message gets cleaned up a little bit. It always, with volatility, if there's ever a really nice little market hiccup, you're going to be eating really good steak for a long, long time at these bad steak dinner. I keep saying bad chicken dinner, but good steak dinner, bad chicken dinner seminars that are selling these index annuities. And just for the record, we love index annuities. We primarily use them as a delivery system for the income rider guarantee. And you can go to theannuityman.com and run quotes on SPIAs, DIAs, and QLACs and income riders and index annuities and see a live MIGA feed 24/7, 365 without talking to yours truly. So, I mean, we want the consumer to be engaged and to be informed. And that's the reason John so graciously joins us occasionally when I can find time for him to fit us in, so that he can just kind of talk about where the annuity industry is and what people should be looking out for. What kind of in closing, what are the primary questions and concerns you're hearing, not only from the agents you interact with and consult for, but also the consumers that are so lucky to reach you one-on-one? What are you hearing?
Everything across the board. I work with people who think that the stock market has reached an all-time high and that it can only go down under the current political regime. Others think that the sky's the limit and there will always be a greater fool to buy their shares at a higher price. I don't mean that in a negative way. It's that greater fool theory when a stock's overpriced, right? Somebody ought to pay more for it someday. But I think that the sincere message I hear is that I would like to know that I'm going to have enough income to live comfortably during my retirement and a liquid basket, a bucket of money that I can access when life happens. Health changes, new roof, new car, parts of a new car, all those things, it just happens.
Are people asking you about crypto annuities? Because I get that question all the time.
I'm trying to understand crypto myself. And at this point, I have enough crypto that if one of my kids gets kidnapped, that I probably should maybe edit that out. I don't have any.
Yeah, let's edit that out. He doesn't have enough.
Pay for my kids kidnapping. Now I have crypto for the same reason most people do, which is FOMO, right? Fear of missing out on something.
Yeah.
But I don't understand how the dollar works either. It's not backed by anything other than the military, the national parks, Do
you think eventually someone's going to take a leap? Some carrier is going to take a leap and try to do something with it?
I'd bet against that in the near term.
Really?
Yeah, I don't think an insurance company is going to base an annuity on cryptocurrency until it has the full endorsement of the United States government, which I would also bet on hell freezing over before that happens as well.
But and I know, and we've been around for too long, that some eager, young, fresh executive has walked into that boardroom and said, "Have you guys ever thought about?" And then they throw the stapler at him.
Maybe we should think about trademarking some kind of annuity names. Bitmaster 10. How's that?
The Bitmaster 10. Holy crap! I mean, there's a carrier that just is listening to this, and they just ran down the hall to the IP department. And
let's get that trademark right away. But no, cryptocurrency is fascinating. I think it's too volatile to be
at this point. I agree.
Yeah, but what you could do, since there are now ETFs that track cryptocurrency, then in theory, an insurance company could index to the return of a Bitcoin ETF.
Do you know how many they would sell of that?
I think most
it would be unbelievable.
I think most people that are doing crypto are younger in general, and they're the people who are not really buying annuities.
But that's the sales pitch, John. Listen, crypto's for the young people. For all you baby boomers, here's my bad chicken dinner seminar pitch, John, when I sell my soul. Hey, we have a crypto indexed annuity that you're never going to lose money, and we get to share in the upside. How much of that do you think I could sell with that sales pitch, John?
Well, since this is now in the public domain forever, somebody someday can look back at this and go, John Lenz did not know what he was talking about. All we have is crypto
Stan the annuity man is obviously sees the future, right? I mean, that's what they're going to say, right? I don't know, man. Listen, I know you're not going to believe this, but we've been talking for a while, and this has been fantastic as usual. You cannot hide John Lenz, the annuity architect. I am going to chase you down, and I'm going to make you come on this podcast because people love it. I mean, the numbers of people that email me and say, "When's John Lenz coming back on?" And I'm like, okay, I'll get it. And I know John's really happy because at the time of this taping, I do have a planned trip to Portland, Oregon, which he's alerted Antifa. He's alerted everybody that I'm coming. He's alerted the mayor. But I will be flying into Portland to see John Lenz face to face and give him the hug that he deserves because he certainly helps us. He is a treasure in the annuity industry. He doesn't believe that, but trust me when I say that. And I really appreciate you being on. John, any last thoughts for the people listening and viewing? You now are not doing the robot, which is kind of cool. So anything to close this thing out?
No. Thank you. I enjoy doing this. Stan, you're like the Joe Rogan of annuity podcasts. So
I'm a lot taller than him. He's vertically challenged, as we know, and I'm not. I'm 6'6". But hey, with that being said, I want to just thank everyone for joining me and John Lenz, the annuity architect, for Fun with Annuities, and I will see you next week. Thanks for listening to Fun with Annuities. Please hit the subscribe button and make sure to go to my site at theannuityman.com, where you can run your own SPIA, DIA, and QLAC quotes and see a live feed of the best MIGA fixed rates in the country, and even get indexed and income rider quotes as well. You can also sign up for my 6 annuity owner's manual books, and I'll ship them for free and under no obligation. I also encourage you to schedule a one-on-one call with me, Stan the Annuity Man, so we can have a full discussion of your specific situation. It will be the best brutally factual and truthful advice you will ever get, and that's one guarantee you should definitely take advantage of. So join me next time for the #1 annuity podcast on the planet, Fun with Annuities.